One should be clear here that the three terms, samatha, vipassana, and samatha vipassana, do not have the same meanings. 12 At that time, there are dhammas united in pairs because of their joint functions such as mindfulness and clear comprehension. Tranquility and insight. It can be seen that some basic dhammas are coupled with their immediate counterparts, e.g. mindfulness with clear comprehension, moral shame with moral dread hiriotapa, forbearance with gentleness, kanti saraka. When the practice reaches its culmination, the yoking of pairs likewise reaches its culmination. Whereas previously different pairs could not perform their respective functions to the utmost, because the counterparts of each pair were in excess of and dominating each other, now, at the time of insight, there prevails a state of non-excess of counterparts of respective pairs. The pairs which are most clearly manifest are faith and wisdom, energy and concentration, equanimity and one-pointedness. All this is called the samadhana of yuganada yoking. As two oxen are yoked together to cultivate a field, in the same way Dhamma pairs cultivate the mind. 13 At that time the meditator is established in the purity of morality, in the sense that, while experiencing feelings, he has restraint. His virtue sila is undefiled. To explain, no matter whether one takes sila in the sense of restraint with regard to the disciplinary code, restraint of the senses, purity of livelihoods, or morality with regard to the four requisites, or otherwise in all its senses, it is found in the one who is just experiencing feeling. This is called the samadhana of silavasati. 14 At that time the meditator is established in purity of mind, i.e., his mind is free from hindrances, nivarana. By the power of concentration or tranquility, purity of mind means that the mind is not distracted or shaken by defilements or hindrances. To put it in other terms, the mind is not carried away by sense objects, forms, sounds, etc.
15. That time the meditator has purity of view, which includes faith. View is said to be impure because one holds that things are not governed by the law of cause and effect, and views the impermanent as permanent. The unsatisfactory as pleasant, no self as self, and the impure as beautiful, something to be enjoyed or adhered to. All such misconceptions, amounting to impurity of view, are otherwise known under such names as wrong view mikadaihi, distorted views, daihi vipalasa, and many others. In the fifth stage, there are three more concerning feelings. The meditator clearly sees impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and no self. He sees that different phenomena are conditioned and themselves condition other things, since all things are subject to the law of cause and effect. He does not consider them as pleasant, gratifying, or engaging, but becomes at first wearied of those phenomena and then detached from them. It is in this practical sense that view daihi is said to be straightened and purified, worthy to be called right view. This is called the samadhana of daihivasati, purity of view. Henceforth all items are directly concerned only with the fruits of practice as such on a higher level. 16. At that time the mind is clean and pure, it is not beclouded because it is free from the touch of hindrances and defilements and is delivered from its fetters. This state is called liberation of mind, and since it is actually present at the time, it amounts to samadhana of vimukha, liberation. 17. That time the meditator had clear vision or pierces through the curtain or cloud that hides the truth. The dark clouds of ignorance and mists of error are dispelled, and the light of right understanding emerges instead. What was previously dry, theoretical knowledge is now transformed into knowledge based on practice. Knowledge acquired through listening and reading is transformed into realization. The meditator does not have to believe in others,
or even his own speculations based on logical reasoning. This is called samadhana of vijja, clear vision. 18. The meditator gives up or relinquishes his hold on things for which he previously harbored attachment. He does not now have craving or any wrong or distorted views about feeling. The mind has given up the defilements or fetters of desire and aversion. The attainment of this state of mind on the part of the meditator is called the samadhana of vimutti, emancipation. 19. The meditator sees how all different mental states, especially feeling of rapture, fade away. For this to be called jnana, knowledge or insight, the seeing of fading must be based on clear vision of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and no self, all conditioned things. revealing themselves to the meditator as impermanent, etc., are all equally seen as fading away. To put it another way, the meaningfulness of all things lies in the pleasant feelings which are produced by them on different levels. From the most ordinary to the most enchanting or refined, when all feelings are cut off or rejected, through the meditator having no desire for them, then all things are totally rejected. And this is the purpose of seeing fading away of all conditioned things. The definition of fading away is that all things are clearly seen to arise and then cease, be in endless alternation, dependent on causes and conditions. As for fading away in the case of feeling, rapture, it should be observed that at the time of contemplating it, at one moment the feeling does not seem to exist for the meditator, and the next moment he is absorbed, intoxicated, and lost in that feeling. And so on in endless alternation, depending on the conditioning factors of that feeling. Thus, for the meditator in this stage, this ever-changing feeling is seen to be illusory, as are all conditioned things. This is called the samadhana of kena, knowledge of fading away.
20. The meditator sees cessation, the non-arising of all conditioned things, sakara, in the sense that, in reality, they have no true existence since they are constantly changing. Through penetration of their elusive nature, he has calmed down the view, they exist. He has calmed down the habit of identifying the mental states as his self. This means he has no attachment for anything as I or mine. This is called the samadhana of anapanasati, the knowledge of non-arising. 21. There arises in the meditator the utmost zeal, chanda, for attaining Dhamma or Nibbana. Apart from having the meaning of that zeal, which is the root cause of all the Dhammas involved in the practice. Chanda also includes other meanings such as joy in the Dhamma, Dhammanandi, and even delight in the Dhamma, Dhammaraga, etc. But in essence, no matter what meaning zeal has, at that time there is the utmost zeal in the Dhamma, and this is called the samadhana of chanda. 22. At that time there is the state of full attention, manasikara, i.e., the meditator truly brings to mind the Dhammas. This full attention, manasikara, serving as the soil, samana, for arousing the Dhammas. In other words, different Dhammas are induced and carefully maintained until they develop. This is called samadhana of manasikara. 23. At that time there is the phenomenon which is characterized as contact of the mind with Dhammas, or conversely, contact of Dhammas with the mind. Dhammas touch the mind, Dhammasamphasa. In short, the term contact refers to the inducing of various Dhammas in the mind. This is the samadhana of phasa, contact. 24. There is a state of mind which can be compared to tasting the taste of Dhamma, or which is like eating mental food. This is a kind of feeling, Vedana, emerging from Dhammas, or which has Dhammas as its objects, Rama. This feeling is the direct result of the contact of Dhammas with the mind, which here have taken the form of meeting together.
25. By the power of concentration, which is inseparably wedded to wisdom, the state of steadiness and stillness of mind ranks foremost. It should be noted that concentration here does not mean concentration as in other cases in which it is not so distinct. Here is meant the inducing of the kind of concentration which has its own special meaning, like contact and feeling in items 23 and 24. The reason why concentration here has a special or distinct meaning is that it has, unlike concentration in general, actual Dhammas as its object, or there is in it the true experience of the taste of Dhammas. This is called the samadhana of samadhi, concentration. Point 26. At that time, predominance of mindfulness is manifest. Mindfulness is comparable to a commander-in-chief, who, sitting on his throne, performs his duty of commanding. He alone controls all affairs. Manifestation of mindfulness, sati, in this spirit of predominance is called the samadhana of sati. 27. Clear comprehension makes a pair with mindfulness, and thus the pair becomes even more significant, surpassing mere mindfulness. This point shows in another way the perfection in performing the function of the Dhammas which bring about deliverance, and means the state of their being higher than mindfulness alone, because they are established more firmly without the possibility of their going back or wavering. This is called the samadhana of sati sampajana, mindfulness plus clear comprehension. 28. There is the state of attainment of the Dhamma, which is the ultimate essence of the holy life, brahmacharya, kama. the quintessence of all that is essential. This refers to emancipation, vimutti. The perfect one declared that his doctrine and discipline, Dhamma Vinaya, or the holy life that he has proclaimed, has emancipation as its essence, and not morality, concentration, wisdom or divine knowledge and vision, etc. Na dasana.
He compared these things respectively to outer dry bark and sapwood, all surrounding the core of emancipation. Therefore, the term vimutti in this 28th item implies reaching the very heart of the holy life, which is emancipation, while the term vimutti in item 18 refers to emancipation in the sense of the act or rather process of giving up defilement. Thus, the same term vimutti is used in both cases, but the implications are different. This is the samadhana of vimutti.29.at, that time the mind is in the state of diving into the deathless, namely nibbana. Nibbana signifies cessation of suffering or elimination of all ills, which may be only partial or complete, but the meaning remains the same. Diving into the deathless, this is regarded as the end or culmination of the successful practice of the Dhamma. This fact makes it clear that the deathless state can be experienced even in the early stages of the practice, such as this 5th stage of anapanasati. The reason is that the taste which the mind experiences while contemplating feeling is the same as that of nibbana, with the exception that at this stage there is only a glimpse of nibbana, not the full experience. This is called the samadhana of amadagata nibbana, the deathless. Now to summarize the whole topic of samadhana, inducing the various dhammas. At the time the meditator breathes in and out, experiencing or contemplating feeling as impermanent, unsatisfactory, and no self, the mind attains to dhammas, i.e. the 29 different mental states as discussed above, or, in other words, all these mental states can then be seen manifested in the mind. This fact shows how interesting it is to penetrate the feeling. One should train oneself in it seriously, no matter how serious the troubles one may have to overcome. Let all those who are interested in practice pay attention to understand feeling closely by means of a more subtle method.
We shall now consider this method separately, giving it a special treatment since it is an important point of the present stage of anapanasati. This method is a distinct and exhaustive method of contemplating feeling. A distinct and exhaustive method of contemplating feeling. To contemplate feeling or watch it closely in different ways throws light on feeling from different angles, that is, the meditator knows what feeling, rapture, is, what its characteristics are, when it arises, how it is related to breathing, what it is object for, what means are used to contemplate it, what truth is seen in it, what results from seeing that truth. However, the most important point of all is that the meditator must understand how feeling is to be contemplated so as to obtain the full results of practice in the form of bringing together the 29 dhammas. Presently, we shall therefore consider in detail the distinct and exhaustive method of contemplating feeling, because this method is a kind of anapanasati, watching the feeling closely, and leads to success in samadhana, bringing together different dhammas. Generally speaking, to see the truth of anything means to see that it is impermanent, unsatisfactory, and no self or void, and that it is not worth becoming attached to it. To see the truth of anything in detail, we must analyze it with regard to its arising, apada, manifestation, upana, and cessation, athagama, so as to know further, a. what it arises from, b. while manifesting what characteristics are manifest, and to what purpose, c. how it ceases to be. We must take into account all these 3 points, should also in the same manner consider things which are related to the thing in question. In the case of feeling, there are 2 things related to it, perception, sana, and thought, vitakka. We have therefore also to discuss the arising, manifesting, and ceasing of all 3.
Feeling in relation to san and vitakka. First of all, we shall discuss the point how feeling, vedana, is related to sana and vitakka. This relationship is something directly concerned with psychology. When a feeling, whether pleasant or unpleasant, arises, one tends to perceive that feeling as such, as an entity or as my feeling. This is called the arising of sana, perception, in connection with feeling. When perception has thus arisen, there arises thinking about it, whether good or bad as the case may be. This is called vitakka, thought arising in connection with that feeling and that perception. Now consider that when there is the coming together of all these three things in this way, how much more firm they will be. How difficult will be to get rid of them if we are unaware of their combination into a group or to their collective resistance to our practice of contemplation or our efforts to destroy them. The best way is, therefore, that we should weaken them. First, they should be separated as feeling, perception, and thought to weaken their power of hiding the truth from us, and then considered individually. 1. Noting feeling. In the case of feeling, the first of the trio, we know that when there is one-pointedness and non-distraction of mind, by means of breathing in and out, rapture, which has here been referred to as a feeling, is clearly manifest. When feeling is thus manifest, we should note its arising, momentary manifesting, and ceasing in all their clarity. A. Concerning the arising of feeling, we should think in terms of this question: with the arising of what does feeling arise? Conditioned by what? There is the arising of feeling. The answer is, with the arising of, or conditioned by, ignorance, craving, and sense impression, phasa, there is the arising of feeling. Ignorance, avijja, implies not knowing or knowing wrongly. It is the foundation of all phenomena which are coming into being without exception.